Welcome, everyone. Good to have you here. Those of you online, welcome. If you'd like, there's cushions to sit on just underneath. And there's little cubby holes to right here to the underneath there. Why they're made to be comfortable. So we have been going through the 6 perfections, the 6 paramitas, the bodhisattva path. And last week we touched into joyous effort. Often feels like perseverance, but we want it to become joyous effort. And so I think we did a pretty good job of laying some groundwork into a context with which we engage in a practice in a way that is sustainable, feels good, that has meaning and purpose. And we brought in the Theravada view of within the Eightfold Path of right effort. But this has a greater context of joyous effort. And this is an effort for all sentient beings. It's an effort that's part of a bodhisattva path that has a primary motivation that we end suffering for ourselves and others, that we understand our interdependence with all beings, that we have a profound understanding and recognition that everything in my life is only possible because of all others. Yeah. So often we forget that. And we get caught up in me and mine, you and yours. And we forget that everything that we have in our life, from language to clothing, to the cars we drive, to the bikes we ride, to food we eat, is because of countless others. And that we're linked. And that any potential for me to remove suffering is dependent on all of you. How else could I develop any sense of compassion or wisdom or tolerance or joy, really? It's only dependent upon my interactions with others, the food, the environments I find myself in. And within this foundation then becomes not just an understanding we're connected, but that my own suffering, my own sadness, my own insecurities or fears, my difficulties and challenges, well, guess what? You all get to experience those too. You know, just like me, everyone has known sadness and despair, loss, joy. Everybody's trying to get their needs met. Everybody's trying to find their way. And as I suffer, others suffer. As I have joy, others have joy. But within a Buddhist understanding, that joy is very temporary. I was listening to Robina Corton. If you've never listened to her, she's like a nun who talks like a sailor. She's hardcore. She's just not. But she gets right to it. I mean, she's not for everybody, but I like her a lot. And this suffering that we have, and when we talk about suffering, we're talking about mental and emotional suffering. We're talking about a pervasive suffering. There's 3 sufferings. And one we relate to pretty easily, and that is this idea of suffering when I don't get what I want, or things aren't going the way I want, you know, or I get sick, or, you know, I lose my partner, or, you know, just myriad of sufferings. We don't get what we want, things go not the way we want, we get embarrassed, whatever. That's suffering we all know. And the second suffering, she goes, well, that's the suffering from getting what you want. Because that's the sneaky suffering. It's called suffering of change, and it's getting what I want is really the source of a lot of suffering. I get what I want. It doesn't seem like I'm suffering then. But when I get what I want, what happens? Well, then I want to protect it, or I want to keep it. I don't want to lose it. I don't want it to change. And I start thinking that it is the source of my happiness. And I cling to it. And now it becomes the source of my anxiety. And I worry about protecting it. I worry about losing it. I worry about not having enough. Uh, I worry that I won't get that to happen again. And so this thing that I got becomes now a great source of suffering. And this is sneaky because you and I can talk about this. You can get it in a minute. I can get it in a minute. Like, what do we? And then we'll go do it anyway. Like, again and again and again. Because our minds will tell us, but if this next thing happens, it'll all be good. House, job, car, relationship, whatever, vacation. And then what do we stress and worry about the most in our lives? House, job, car, relationship. Right? Because there's this delusion that that's the source of what's going to make me happy and whole. And yet it becomes the source of my suffering. So she put it so well. She said, the second suffering is getting what you want. And so this is critical to understand that if we want to not suffer, if we want, excuse me, my deviated septum has been not giving me what I want. It's been pretty congested. I'm going to have to break down and see a doctor. So implicit in this journey is that we don't want to suffer. It's probably why we're here. I don't want to suffer. And if I understand I suffer and others suffer, well, it's very important to know why I suffer. And is it the events, or is it the way I relate to the events? Is it the exaggeration I put around the quality of those events? And so Buddhism says, no, it's going to be my misapprehension of these events, the exaggerated qualities, the grasping, the attachment to them, thinking that that is what's going to make me okay. And not understanding the interdependent experience of the mind that I'm bringing to the event, the misperception about the person, place, or thing, the exaggerated quality I place on it, which leads to a grasping and attachment, which then leads to worry, fear, anxiety, stress, clinging, grasping. I mean, we could be pretty happy right here, right? It's kind of a nice place, Carbondale, Colorado. Got the heat on. Last week, people all had their jackets on, so I put it up a notch or two. It should be more comfortable. It's pretty nice. I mean, if I had an ice cream, it'd be a little better. But, it's pretty good. We can be pretty content, right? And, I can start talking about how good it is in Hawaii, I mean, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be nice to have a week off? Just hang out in Hawaii. Just float in the water. What's cool about Hawaii? You don't even need shoes. It's just flip flops. Weather's pretty cozy, pretty chill. That'd be nice. Just have a week, Hawaii, hang out, eat some fruit, get some sticky rice. And it's fine because we could be pretty content here, and then my mind can start thinking, man, I wish I was. And John, he sucks, man. I want to be in Hawaii now. And somebody has some great news, and we could think, wow, that didn't happen to me. And yet a moment ago, I was pretty content. And now I'm not. So-and-so got this great news. Wow, I'd like to do that. And then we can totally miss everything in our lives that's amazing. I mean, when you think about all the wondrous events in our lives, all of them, so many we can't even count how many good things have happened to us, how many wonderful moments, how many times things went just so well. And yet I could be frustrated and feeling like I don't have what I need right now. And even though I've had millions of wonderful experiences, my mind can tell me, but if this next thing happens, when that happens, it'll all be good. And I can't see what I already have. If I can't be happy now in this moment with all that we have, what makes me think I'll be happy if this thing happens? We got clothing, food, education, resources. I have a pretty cool cup. It says sow the seeds of kindness on it. It has some little lid. Pretty cool. I have all this stuff. I can walk and talk. I can see. I have all this. And sometimes I can forget all that because I want something else. And so we start to understand, if we look more deeply, that this mental and emotional suffering is not found in the events or the things, nor is the joy. It's how I'm relating to those things, how I'm attending to them, how I'm perceiving them. And my mind gets habituated to thinking things should be like this or that. And when they're not this or that, I'm either angry or frustrated or worried or fearful. Or when they do go my way, then there's a grasping for more. None of which breeds contentment. So one of the great practices, we're talking about right effort, which will go into joyous effort. And the path of awakening, the path of no more suffering requires an effort, That's why a lot of people will, there's a cartoon I saw, which just nailed it, I think. 2 windows, right? A really long line. And one was for medication, and the other one was for lifestyle change. And nobody was in the lifestyle change, People were in for the, let me take this or that. And because that's an effort. But how can we make our effort joyful? How can we make our effort joyful? Well, how about I start cultivating contentment instead of desire? How about I start there? It doesn't even require a lot of effort to be grateful. If I start reflecting on what I do have instead of what I don't have. There's an effort required to bring to mind the things to be grateful, but what if I began with seeing a little more clearly, taking some time to cultivate some contentment, to reflect on what I do have. Thich Nhat Hanh, he talks about the non-toothache. He's a Vietnamese teacher, right? You may ever have a toothache. Yeah, I've had toothaches, actually. Had lots of damage up here. And toothache, it sucks. It hurts. And then one day it goes away. We get it treated, gets taken care of, and then the pain's gone. And then we're really grateful, like, wow, that's so good. I'm not having a toothache. Feels great. But about a day later, I'm not caring that I don't have a toothache. Right now, we probably don't have a toothache. Are you feeling pretty good about not having a toothache? No, right? But when we had a toothache and went away, I feel pretty damn good about it. It's like, wow. And so I think for me, this is a wonderful way to enter into a path which creates the conditions of a joyful effort. And the effort, as we talked about last week, this effort that we put into our path, because a Buddhist path is fundamentally about one thing, just one thing really, and it's to see clearly. That's what the Buddha basically taught, that our mental and emotional suffering comes from misperception. I don't see clearly. And all of these tools are to help us see clearly. And nothing is to be taken on faith. Nothing is to be taken on you believe in anything. It's just test it out. Where's my happiness come from? Where's my suffering come from? Period. And investigate that. See what's true. And there's this big realm, I'd say about 80% of just Buddhist teaching, whether it's Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana, just 80% probably, is just really just psychology. It's just, there's nothing, as a matter of fact, modern psychology is using and drawing from these same Buddhist principles they're using today. So cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy, it's a big thing. It's how we treat people. Is nothing other than like the rudimentary Buddhist idea that we're misperceiving things. Our thoughts are not accurate. And I can reorientate my thoughts to be more accurate. Cognitive behavioral therapy. Nothing different than a very fundamental, rudimentary Buddhism. Motivational interview, MI, which is a therapeutic process. And identifying how people have discrepancy between their actions and what their values are. Buddhism is very simple. You know, ethical behavior is what's going to be virtuous, wholesome, and lead to well-being. And acting against that creates suffering. So much of Buddhism is now a lot of Western psychology is drawing from it in our modalities. DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, acceptance, commitment therapy, ACT. Not supposed to call it ACT. I learned that. Call it ACT. I think I got that right. And so what's really beautiful about it, and what I've found personally really helpful, is the idea that I can dig in and start testing this, and it either works or it doesn't work. It's either true or it's not. And in that way, the faith that arises from my practice arises from checking and testing. It's not blind faith. Blind faith does not get you joyous effort. Blind faith is going to fade away when it's hard. But a faith that's built on testing and checking and examining and applying and seeing results, well, that makes sense. If I get results, I can do this. And so the journey about right effort, the journey about joyous effort, is one where we're putting effort in things that eliminate suffering, and effort in cultivating those that cultivate well-being. And one would think that that would be a pretty easy effort. Wouldn't you? Who doesn't want? I don't want to suffer. But there's a big disconnect. Tenzin Palmo, she says, Jetsuma Tenzin Palmo, great teacher. She goes, a lot of people come up to me and they ask me about how to get rid of anger, how to work with my anger. She says, nobody comes up and asks me how to get rid of my greed or my attachment. Because if I were to get rid of my greed and attachment, I probably wouldn't be angry. So there's a disconnect between the effort to actually give up the things that create my suffering. I don't want to suffer, but I still want my banana split. I haven't had one in a while. Sorry, I just desire for a moment there. But so therein lies this how do I have an effort that becomes one that will actually focus on eliminating the source of my suffering? And so that requires an effort to recognize the actual source of my suffering and an effort that allows me to really saturate my mind with the contentment, the joy of being a person I feel good about, of a life that is whole and well, connected and accurate. That's the ultimate reward circuit. So in the brain, we have reward circuits. And dopamine comes out. It feels pretty good. And some people do drugs and dopamine comes out. Some people ski really fast and dopamine comes out. And, for me, apparently with banana splits, dopamine comes out. And but what happens generally is our and this is just brains, just that the way they function is that we get this hit and it's good. And then, well, I want more of that. So things that don't provide that hit become less interesting. So my homeostasis shifts, and things that are very mundane, doing the dishes and so forth, don't seem very interesting. Doing this other thing is pretty exciting. And then I keep seeking that which will give a sensation of pleasure. And then all the things that once gave me pleasure don't anymore. Because that homeostasis changes. That's just psychology. That's just the way our biology works. And this is all happening very subtly. And we keep chasing that which will feel as good, thinking that is the cause of my happiness. But what it's the cause of is my dopamine release. It's the cause of a temporary pleasure. And it's potentially the cause of my mental and emotional duress, despair, shame, guilt, and pain if I'm doing things to have that I don't feel good about when I look in the mirror, and maybe insecure and less than and so forth. And so unless I can, because all this is happening like all the time, it's the water I swim in. If I'm a fish, like fish don't know water, right? It's just water. It's but they live it. It's their oxygen, right? It's just water. They don't know water. And that's what our mind streams can be like. And the idea is that for this right effort to take place, I need to get out of the water of my busy mind so I can observe the experience more objectively than otherwise. And start seeing what's the real source of my suffering, what's the real source. And if I can do that, and that's where mind training comes in, that's where meditation comes in, the ability to start training my attention. So I can observe thoughts as they arise instead of be the thoughts. I can observe them, experience them. I can experience anxiety, not be anxious. I can observe and experience my joy and not be joyful. But I can experience it as part of my experience, but I'm not fused with it. And in that sense, I get out of the stream, and now I'm a participant in my life instead of having my mind, thoughts, and emotions drag me through my life. And I get reactive, impulsive, fearful. I could just experience some fear or some joy. So getting out of that stream, training our mind is this first effort. So I can start to examine where's the cause of joy, where's the cause of suffering. And then I can start working with taking the actions that eliminate the exaggerated qualities and start seeing things more clearly, start engaging in virtuous activities, start engaging in things I'll feel good about. And then I can tap into the ultimate reward circuit. So this is a step-by-step thing that says, there is a short-term pleasure that will come and go. It's called stimulus-driven pleasure. Stimulus, pleasure, gone. No stimulus, no pleasure. But what about a sense of lasting well-being that I feel all the time, that I can feel connected to, a part of? And that's going to come from this virtuous, wholesome action, understanding my connectedness, doing things I feel good about instead of just things that make me feel good. Doing things I feel good about, not just things that make me feel good. So I can do a lot of things that make me feel good I don't feel good about. And I can do some things I feel good about that don't feel very good at all when I'm doing them. But I feel good about tomorrow. And I feel good about the next day. And every time I look back at that experience, I feel like I'm glad I did that. And if I start engaging in that understanding, well, now I have the opportunity to rewire my neural pathways, the brain. The brain actually restructures itself. It actually restructures itself. And it's going to restructure itself and build these neural pathways based on what I think and do and say a lot. That's just what I think, say, and do a lot becomes a habit, becomes a tendency. Those connections make, and those things fire, and they weave together. And that's just the biology of us. So if I were to start thinking about cultivating contentment, or calling to mind the good qualities of my partner, or calling to mind the non-toothache, or calling to mind what a precious gift it is to have hot water in a cup on a cool night. How often do we miss that pleasure? Well, then I'm going to start having another little experience of pleasure. And things that I used to ignore become very interesting, very exciting. You know, how many people were involved, you know? I was just sharing our drinking faucet, right? A little fountain back there. It's a sink. We have this like big sink. This used to be a classroom. But in the front of the sink's an actual spout, you know, you stick your head down. And I think it's cool, you know, I like it. But it's kind of silly because there's a faucet right there too. You could just turn the water on. But the sink's pretty cool. I was just thinking, well, how many kids got up there and had a drink of water, you know? How many little kids? And then we started talking about when we used to drink out of hoses. That's the real stuff there, man. Nothing like hose tasting water, you know, on a hot day. And what a joy that is. But all that could be missed if I have my mind somewhere else, caught up in something else, and what I don't have, what I need. Can not experience the gift it is to have a hot water and to be safe, be able to walk, be able to cultivate a path of awakening to eliminate all suffering. All that could be lost because my mind's somewhere else. And so with this right effort, I think a really good place to start is to begin a process of creating the conditions where I can be more accurate about how good it feels to do things I feel good about. And that is easier said than done. One of the things that generally humans don't do very well is allow them to soak in the joy of a good moment that we've engaged in, that we feel good about. We're really good at ingraining in our consciousness a fear or an anxiety or a terrible event. I mean, that thing is right there. But how many good things have you done you felt really good about, and can you recall? Like a little kindness you did to someone, or something, you know, like this morning, I made breakfast for my wife. I did the dishes, and I get up earlier, a lot earlier. And doing my practice. I got home early and she wasn't up yet. So I'd do all the dishes, cook breakfast, have her come out, and that just felt good. It just felt good. And I thought about, I want to remember how good this feels, because often I won't. I won't think about it. It's just what you do. And I thought, whoa, this feels pretty good. I feel pretty light right now. I feel kind of joyful. Probably should put on some music and have her some breakfast. And but so often we don't take that moment to just relish it. Let it sit. Let it. We'll let our fear sit, but we don't often let our joy, our connection, feel that good. And it feels really good. And so in this right effort, I think laying that foundation is starting to engage in those so that we have a visceral experience of the things we do that cultivate some joy and some well-being, even when they're not pleasant, right? There's a lot of things we do that aren't pleasant, but we feel it was responsible, and I felt good that I showed up and did that. So entering into this path, then, if we have this context, we understand the nature of this confusion and how our minds can drag us away from doing things that actually create well-being. Then there's an effort. Well, there's an effort to train my mind. There's an effort to meditate. There's an effort to bring to mind how things are more often. And that's an effortful path. It's pretty easy to think, well, I'm not going to meditate today. I mean, most people struggle with a meditation practice. I mean, I'm sure you guys don't, but there's others that have. And that's meditation. Think about something that's not even as challenging as meditation. I mean, right now, how many things like just 2 things that could improve your life that would absolutely improve. If I did this, whether it's exercise, whether it's not procrastinate, whether it's just a couple things. I know, man, if I did that, it would just be really healthy for me, and my life would be better. And then we don't do that, right? I mean, I'm still planning on getting organized. I know it's going to happen one day. I just know it. Those piles of stuff, it's going to get done. And I don't do it, right? And then we need help, we need this effort. And so establishing a meditation practice. And so there's these 4 qualities of 4 qualities that really cultivate a joyous effort as opposed to just an effort. And now the right effort is doing things that are going to reduce my suffering. In other words, doing things, avoiding unhealthy mental states, avoiding noticing when my mind gets caught up in attachment, revenge, anger, whatever, and taking the antidotes to get rid of those. That's an effort to notice when that arises, and then we apply the antidotes. But also, so notice when harmful mental states arise, get rid of them. That's an effort. It's mindfulness. The other mindfulness is to cultivate healthy, positive mental states and then sustain them. So that's an effort, right? Healthy, positive, and sustain them. So that's right effort. Now we're in a joyous effort. So joyous effort then is a joy in taking on the practice of using my life. So I'm going to engage in activities that cultivate that path, and I'm going to stop doing things that undermine it. And that this can actually be joyful. Like I get excited about that. Now, we always need to start where we are. So the idea that, oh, okay, got a good talk, read the book, good to go, going to be joyful, in the face of all kinds of pain and misery and frustration. But it's all just a chance to grow and cultivate my highest potentials. Woohoo! I'm on it. Gonna take a little bit to get there. So this first one's aspiration, and the aspiration is coming from the idea that I want to practice. I want to be free of suffering. I want to have a sense of good well-being. I want to, those are just even the mundane ones, but I want to be a Buddha. I want to recognize my true nature. I want to not be confused. So we gotta want to do something. We need to have an aspiration. And so cultivating this aspiration, we usually start with these 4 thoughts that turn the mind to Dharma, the 4 thoughts. And the 4 thoughts are just, I like to call it an accurate assessment of our current situation. That's all it is. And if we actually had an accurate assessment of our current situation, we would not do a lot of things we do. It's like, no way would I do that. And this is the antidote to many of the hindrances that prevent us from engaging in our path of no more suffering. It's the antidote. It's again and again the antidote. Just checking my time, see how in depth we can go there. And so these 4 thoughts, pretty straightforward, but there's something that if we realize them, they are the jet fuel to practice. They're the 4 thoughts that, like if I actually realize these, I would not be wasting my time inflicting harm on myself. I wouldn't waste it. There's just no way. So they all take a little bit of time to really realize. And the first one is the truth of suffering, right? So no, it's not. The first one is my rare and precious human rebirth. Sorry about that. I got to the 4 noble truths. I got a lot of lists in my head. There's 4 this, 3 this, and then 3 subpoints of that. But the first of the 4 thoughts is to recognize how rare and precious this opportunity is right now, this human form I have right now. And what would that be like if we actually knew just how rare and precious? So from a Buddhist perspective, the life that we currently have has taken eons of lifetimes to have all the causes and conditions, to be born in a human form, to be born in a place where the Dharma and the path of awakening are present, to be born in a place where the teachings are available, to be born in this time and have resources. And all of that still doesn't give you a rare and precious human rebirth. You still have to have the desire and the interest. Look how many humans don't. Here we are at a Dharma center on Wednesday night. How many billions of human beings are out there doing other things that can create suffering in their own life tonight? How many of them don't even have a chance of Dharma? How many live in a country where things aren't available? How many of the billions are just trying to live today, just trying to somehow be okay today, and don't have access to water, electricity, let alone teachings, let alone freedom to practice their own religion? How many can't read? That's just the humans, in this lifetime. And here we are. And then how many people have resources, have education, have money? And the last thing that they're going to want to do is cultivate their inner qualities of well-being. And it's not an interest. There's a very small sliver of human beings alive on this planet today that have all the qualities that we have being here right now, and understand that there's something much more to my experience than the next new job. Or what's that TV show everybody's famous? Game of Thrones. That was like a big thing. And not to say it's a bad thing, it's just people's interests are caught up in other things. And so a path that can actually remove all suffering, a path with full awakening of well-being available to us, no more confusion, is something that I might or I might not go to tonight. Could go bowling. I like bowling. I used to have a bowling ball. It said Johnny Pearl White. I was in a bowling league. Yeah, it's kind of fun. So all those conditions are available. So what if we actually recognized how rare and precious this human rebirth was? And then the second thought is you won't have it forever. It's impermanent. We could be gone tomorrow. We could be gone in a few hours. That's just the way things are. That I don't know if my next breath or my next life will come next. I just don't know. We don't know. I mean, who knows? What if we actually realize that? We think we have all this time. I got plans. But if we just take a real clear look, how many people we know that passed away young? How many people we know that passed away quickly? How many people do we know that are not in our lives anymore? Some quick, some slow, some young. So that's just the way it is. And I don't know what news I'll get tomorrow or if I'll be here. How would my life be different if I knew that this could be my last day? I might stop saying things like, man, I can't wait for this day to end. One of my personal favorites is, I got time to kill. Really? Here's a day that will never come again in your life, ever. Do I have time to kill? I don't know if we're going to talk again. This is meaningful. What if that's the way we treated everyone we came in contact with? I don't know if I'm going to see you again. I really want this to be a really good interaction. I really be fighting with my loved ones. I don't know if I'll be here tomorrow or you'll be here tomorrow. So imagine what that would be like if I had that realization instead of a nice intellectual conversation. How big are my problems if this is my last day? I mean, really? Because the third thought then is rare and precious rebirth, don't have it forever. It's impermanent, don't know how long. And then the third thought is understanding karma, the nature of karma. In other words, what are the thoughts and habits and conditions? How am I living my life? At the time of death, all those things I stress for and fear over, well, they don't come with me. What comes with me is how I live my life. What have I cultivated? What should take me to the rest of the journey? Now, if I don't even understand about next life or not, it doesn't matter because the same thing applies. What's going to matter to me at the end of my life? What's how I live my life? Is it all the things that wasted my time and energy on? Or do my loved ones know they're loved? Is the world maybe a little better place because I was in it? What would it be like to die without regret, having cultivated a life that's meaningful and purposeful? Or could I die today having not done the things that I felt good about? Well, that'll motivate me. Rare and precious human rebirth, impermanence, karma. And karma, it doesn't need, like a lot of people get this very esoteric thing around karma. It is actually rather complicated, but there's a very simple aspects to it. They're very simple. What I think, say, and do a lot, well, that'll become my habits and tendencies. I'll be kind of a prisoner of those habits, right? So we've had habits. We do things a lot. They become habits. Karma is a lot like that. what I think, say, and do a lot, well, then I have a tendency to think, say, and do that again. I create patterns. I create patterns in how I engage with people. I create patterns in the things I do and how I see people and the attitudes I develop. And so this human experience I'm having is a result of my past actions, the way I perceive people and stuff today, this previous karma. And so, one way to demystify one aspect of karma is pretty simple. It's what I think, say, and do a lot. That's how I'm going to think. That's how I'm going to act. That's how I'm going to perceive. Who I hang around with, well, they're going to impact me. Right? So now there's the karma of that. And so we are changing all the time. And I can be changing consciously, karmically. I can start watering the seeds of the thoughts I would like to grow: love, kindness, patience. Or I could forfeit that and be mindless in the stream and be caught up in those things, and anger, fear, resentment, grasping, jealousy, which is, what gets us our prison of fear and insecurity, and hard to change habits. So understanding karma is understand, well, it's all changeable. I just start doing things differently. And it'll be really hard at first. They talk about against the stream, right? I'm going against the stream, so there's going to be some effort there. But little bits at a time transforms that whole experience over time, which would get to the stability. And then the fourth thought is just understanding the prison that we live in. Samsara. Samsara is not a place. Samsara is not, Samsara is the way I'm perceiving this place, the prison I've created through my mental constructs, and how I create my own suffering. People, places, things, and events causing me continual torment by means of three sufferings. It's not the people, places, and events that cause me suffering. It's my attachment to them, my grasping to them in a way that they can't provide me the joy that I want. That creates my suffering. And so if I start to understand that, well, there's a pretty amazing epiphany that comes. That if I stop seeing things through the lens of confusion and attachment, I don't have to live in samsara anymore. Neither does anyone else. I can actually enjoy the ice cream and not be attached to it. I can show up to my partner in a way I'll feel good about and love them unconditionally without it being contingent on her acting a particular way and at some point in time learning to put the toilet paper on the proper way. But sometimes you just need to let go of things, And I'm going to get over that one of these days. It's possible. But the attachment that comes up, I can actually, be quoting her again. Love never hurts. Love doesn't hurt. People have a lot of pain. They think out of love. Attachment hurts. Loving someone doesn't hurt. Wanting the best for them, extending yourself for someone. What hurts is wanting them to be a particular way or turn out a certain way, and then that has more to do with me, not them. So we can love people if we're not attached to them. We can enjoy life if we're not attached to it. That's the difference in understanding around samsara, that the suffering is something I'm creating, and it can be undone just by living more accurately. So I have a rare and precious human rebirth. I won't have it long. The path of awakening is right here, right now. I have all 18 specific qualities to attain enlightenment in this very lifetime. And what am I going to do with it? What would it be like if I had those accurate assessment of my current situation right here, right now? All the conditions are right. Everything's available. And the path is here in front of me. Or I can go watch Game of Thrones. I can water the seeds of attachment, or I can cultivate a path of awakening. Not to say you can't watch Game of Thrones without being attached or have a movie. It's the attachment to it. Is it distracting me from recognizing my value? So some of the confusion here often then says, wow, effort, then I have to just sit around all day. But in fact, you really get to enjoy things. And you can take a vacation. I can speak about Hawaii because I've actually floated in the water over there. Without attachment to it, it can be helpful. With attachment to it, it can be samsara. So it's not the things. It's not the you can't. It's not that you can't enjoy a walk in the mountains. It's not that you can't enjoy quality time. I was just looking at pictures of my grandkids. It's that I can really be there for them without any pain around it. And so that's what we're going for. So joyous effort is starts with this aspiration that I want to be free of that suffering. I want to actually be available to make good use of my life. I want to end suffering, and I understand karma. And karma, simply put, is when I do things that are wholesome, I'm going to have a more pleasurable result. So it's that rewiring I talked about, right? It's the ultimate reward circuit that I can really enjoy helping someone. I can really enjoy taking a walk. I can really. And if I do things that are unwholesome, I'm going to have an unpleasant experience. So when I do things I don't feel good about, guess what? I'm not going to feel good about me. You know, that's just the way it is. There's no a way around that. I can rationalize it. I can tell others about it, but deep down, there's John going, hey, you know you did that, man. You know what you were really doing. And that's going to be there. But when I do things I feel good about, a sense of wholeness, of wellness, rises. And so karma is on that level. Pleasurable experiences, the more I live ethically, the more I engage in wholesome behaviors, I just see less troublesome people in my life. I have less annoying people in my life. When I'm more whole and well, there's a lot less annoying people in my life. It's weird how that works. They didn't really change. I change. When I feel of value, I'm not comparing myself with others, and there's a lot less people that I dislike. So I'm changing my karmic imprints, which changes my experience of others. That's how karma works, and that's that third one. And then really just understanding this potentials here that I can wake up and stop suffering. So I need to have this aspiration. And then with that aspiration comes this stability, this way of not giving up. Not giving up. One of the lazinesses, these three lazinesses we talked about, I think we talked about those a little bit last time, but one of them is doubt. One of them is, I'll never get there. That's for other people. Other people get that. awakening. It seems so far away, you know. And the steadfastness is addressing that in the sense that we all start where we are and we don't know how far we have to go. That when I start rewiring, when I start shifting, the doors that'll open for us are beyond our comprehension. Uh, and we already have those qualities. We already have those qualities. They're not something we have to go get. They're something we get to discover, and we get to discover because they're obscured, right? My kindness, my compassion, it's already there. My Buddha nature, it's already there. It's just obscured with all my attachments and confusion and grasping. And as I start to let go of that, I'm not gaining something new. I'm discovering what's already there. So my very nature is that. And so there's nothing to doubt. And we're just clearing away. But the analogy they use, boy, I'm going way back. It's like a mountain of dung, which is our negative confusion, karma. I got a little spoon, and it seems like a lot of work. It's going to take a while. Excuse me. And so the steadfastness, the steadiness is to understand that every time I take a spoon out, there's one less thing in my way. There's one less thing in my way. And we don't lose it. It's not one step forward, two steps back. There's no back. There's no back. Oh, I could never get a meditation practice. Well, did you meditate before? Yeah, okay, well, I guess you had to practice. And today's a new moment. And right now you're becoming. Right now you're becoming. Right now is the only moment that exists. What you do in this moment matters. The time to improve your life, by the way, you know when the time to improve your life is? Now. It's always now. There's no other time to improve your life. It's always now. This is the only thing that actually exists in this moment. And so steadfast is, yeah, some days I'm not going to have my mojo. Some days, the last thing in the world I can do is meditate. But now there's a new moment. There's no back. There's no such thing. That's gone. There's only forward. So it's not, one step and 2 steps back. It's, I took some steps and then I've had some bumps. I have a visual for that. Okay, my visual is, instead of, 1 step, 2 steps back, I think of it as I take a step and I hit a wall. But I keep moving and I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. And then I get back in, and now I'm moving again. But now I've moved up. And then I'll hit a wall. But when I keep moving in this direction again, I have this whole experience of all my challenges that I've had to overcome. And I'm actually much better place as a result. I didn't go backwards. I actually got to deal with some real challenges that provided me the growth to continue. That's my little visual with that. And that's what it's proven in my life. I remember getting here, sitting in my teacher's Dharma Center in Long Beach and just thinking, my God, there's no way I'm getting this. There's no way. I had it so for other people. But I showed up because I figured I can at least be ethical. And I was just going to work on being ethical, trying to have a better mind than I used to. But in doing that, that creates the conditions for deeper understanding and teachings. And so just going and trying unlocked, a lot more opportunity over many years. And so as we engage in this path, one way of making it a joyous effort is to find some joy in it. That's the third factor. We have aspiration, steadiness, joy. I think it should be fun. It should be fun, you know. And so, what are some ways to make it fun? I'm not gonna get through all this, but it's not the event, right? It's how I'm perceiving the event. So, you know, sometimes there's quiet. There's times where I think, man, I don't want to practice today. Get up early, I'm tired, hit doze. Oh, I have all these rituals to do. Oh man, this seems hard. And then I think about, I've paid $1,000 to go spend a week in retreat with one of my teachers. I paid all this money to go travel somewhere, to sit in silence and be uncomfortable and be freaking quiet and grateful to do it. And I don't have to pay $1,000 to sit in my own house and be a lot less uncomfortable and do a practice. And so one of my little mind tricks is simply like, cool, I'm in retreat, man. And I get to sit here and, you know, I have done so much of my life to finally be in this moment to do practice. There's no less, you know, it's like pay all this money or do all this effort and go see His Holiness the Dalai Lama, where I sit and do a practice. Well, I put a picture of him right there. And I have this opportunity right now. I've met him a few times, and he'll tell you your real blessing is the practice, not talking to me. So I remember when I sit down, wow, I don't have to get through this. I've spent my whole life to get the opportunity to do this. Wow. That's a little different view when I catch my mind going, oh, I have to knock out my meditation. No, I've waited my whole lifetimes to be able to sit today. I get to do this. And sometimes that actually works. And sometimes it doesn't. But what a joyous thing, you know. And to have joy in our life. You know, the qualities of practice is not that I'm just sitting or I'm just reading or I'm just, how am I making breakfast for my partner? One of the things I like to do, and I encourage encourage everybody to do. When's the last time you skipped? Been a little while. I'll tell you what, it's hard to not smile and skip. Just really hard. This hallway, I'll skip down there sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, especially do it in the parking lot where people see you. And it's like, it just changes your energy. You know, we just need to lighten up. Just skip a little bit. I'll do that. That's a good thing for me. Take everything all seriously. You know, just skip. So have some joy. So joyous efforts about having joy. We're not going to get anywhere tight and self-critical. We are never going backwards. Every ounce of effort we put in is moving us in a direction. And it's not time to ever give up. It's always time to get up. You know, skip, have some fun, make some tea, watch Game of Thrones. If you're ever really sad, watch YouTube videos of babies giggling, tearing paper. There's no way to deal with that without giggling. It's just, for some reason, with a little toddler, if you tear paper, it's just this thing. And so anyway, I got a bunch of YouTube videos. And it just changes your whole demeanor, you know, which also shows our connection with others and that joy. So having joy, and the other fourth point is just rest. Don't be tight. Don't be, I need to do this or I need to do that. It's being accountable with where you're at and growing slowly, steadily, taking good care of ourselves, making sure we have rest, making sure we have some fun, making sure that my practice is a part of my experience. It's not this thing I have to go do. It's something I get to do that allows me to do these other things well. And my Dharma practice isn't me on a cushion. My Dharma practice is engaging with others in a way that I feel good about. That's simple. In a way I feel good about tomorrow. Let that be my Dharma. And you might find your effort becomes joyful because we literally biologically can rewire our brains to that release of well-being comes from doing things I feel good about. And that could be gardening. It could be, helping someone. It could be just taking a break. It could be skipping down a hall. That could be your Dharma practice. I see it clearly. All right. Let's dedicate. We've spent this time, energy together, and we can dedicate this for the benefit of all sentient beings. So let us dedicate the merit and the wisdom that we've accumulated here today and throughout our lifetimes, both individually and collectively. Let us dedicate this for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings be free of suffering, recognize their true nature, find liberation. And may we be able our lifetimes to purify our own minds, to help us joyously engage in our efforts to undo the misperceptions that prevent us from truly flourishing and recognizing our own Buddha nature. May we also dedicate the merit and wisdom accumulated here today and throughout our lifetimes for the long life of all spiritual teachers of all spiritual traditions that are authentically teaching a path of no more suffering. May they live long, may their teachings flourish, and may their students engage in their teaching.